Yeah. Bitches be ballin'. Week 3. Hello.
You.
Kayla, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm wading through with fantasy season. Shit's crazy. So many injuries.
It's been
Uh,
nuts the amount of injuries we've had so far. Like,
is it
can't
normal?
wrap my head around it. I don't know. I feel like it's too much for the first week or
Yeah.
first, second week, you know? Like, it's piling up.
And like injuries that come out of nowhere, like Dyson Daniels, like Bogdan had
Taylor
surgery.
Hendricks,
I mean, it's a lot of
it's
scrambling
rough.
today.
But did you see
Um,
the Taylor Hendricks one?
oh yeah. And
Oh, I
some people are, like,
prayers up for him.
retweeting the video of it, and it's like,
Mm,
"Don't do that, guys." It's horrible.
yeah,
Really freaky.
it is, especially like non-contact play. And the first time I saw it, oh my God, it looked rough. Prayers up for him though. Speedy
Yeah,
recovery
he's young, and he'll come back stronger than ever, I'm sure. So much
for sure.
talent. So week 3, we got our first Meet the Manager episode where we bring
Mhm.
in one of the ladies from our league and, just shoot the shit, talk about fantasy. So, this week we've got Emma.
Let's bring her on.
Bring her on,
Hello, Emma.
Hello. Hello,
How are
hello.
you?
Emma.
I'm good. I'm good. You were talking about all the injuries you were listing except for Taylor Hendricks. I'm a Hawks fan, so I'm like, yep, those are the
Uh,
whole squad is missing. So fortunately, Dyson and Bogey will make a return in the near term. So
Do you have I don't know how who has who on our in our league. Do you have any of
so
them?
I actually in my podcast prep, I went through to see who my most drafted players were, and I have 5 guys that I have on 5 teams. And one of them is Dyson. So it's
nice.
a bit of a bummer, but he's been playing so well, and they say it's day to day. At least last I checked. So I'm hoping we can weather the storm, and he'll be back good as new.
So how many leagues are you in, Emma?
I'm in too many leagues. I'm in 13 leagues right now.
Fucking A, that's insane.
So I was last year I was in less leagues than this. And the year before that I was in more leagues, which was like way too many. Um the problem is I have like all these different kind of leagues that I want to be in. So I've got my dynasty leagues. I like auction drafts, so I want to be in a few of those. And then I like the kind of tournament style leagues like the World Cup or the Lockdown Fantasy Bowl. So those take up spots. And then I also like Roto and Edition head to head. So I feel like once I have like a little bit of each, all of a sudden it's like so many leagues.
Do you
How do
play
you find time
points?
for it all?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I,
Points. That's a very
you know,
important question.
no points leagues for me. I've never done a points league before. How do I find time for it all? So that's a good question. Um, the dynasty leagues are 2 of them. I'm like rebuilding, so I kind of just set the minimum number of players I need to be like compliant and like the worst players I have. So that and then I just kind of troll the waiver wires for like good players who are young. So I picked up like I think I picked up Scottie Pippen Jr. in one of them. And I know I picked up J Huff. He's youngish, not actually that young, just seems young since he's young to actually be on an NBA contract. Um and yeah, I feel like how do I keep track of it all? I just in the evenings. Well, the good thing is, except for this league that has the like instant ads, they're all the fab budgets. So I don't have to be like on 24/7 or my teams are gonna crash. So I just usually like after the games are done in the evening, I'll just go through my teams and see like where I need to stream someone in. And again, most of them have just like 4 or 5 ads that you can do a week anyway. So I feel like I'll do that and I'll have like a Josh Lloyd daily recap video playing in the background to see if there's any hot takes that I need. And then I use Basketball Monsters. That kind of also, helps kind of prompt ideas that I might not have thought of, where I don't feel like I need to keep my eye on every team myself, follow the, what other people are reporting on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a little like, especially at the beginning of the season when you're trying to kind of get a handle of like what players are actually doing what things, and who, you didn't think you needed to draft, but now they're like playing really well or have an unexpected role, or like, with all these injuries, like you're saying. I was working on setting my lineups for our league earlier, and I'm literally using all 5 IL and IL plus slots because my team is incredibly broken. Although none of them, luckily, like super long-term injuries, but yeah, trying to kind of fit in players who can do something is challenging. But yeah, and then, other besides the ads, just like 30 minutes before the games, I just go through and set my lineups. So
Yeah. 13 leagues? How many did you say? 13?
yeah, and then I usually, so the one year that I was in too many leagues, I had like them pretty much mixed between Fantrax and Yahoo. And now I try to, if it wasn't for this league, I would have them all on Fantrax, because that also, I find it easier to keep up with when I don't have to like juggle multiple sites.
Platforms, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm having a lot of issues with Fantrax. It's
Same.
like fucking the interface is just overload.
See, I
And
don't get that. I like used Fantrax first before Yahoo. Like the first league I was in was on Fantrax. And I just feel like I find it intuitive. And then when I get into the Yahoo interface, I'm just like, can't find anything. But then I always, especially in these like big tournament leagues, that's obviously where it gets a little clunky when there's like 120 teams. It just doesn't run very smoothly sometimes. But I always see like all the people in the chat are always like, I hate Fantrax. I'm never playing a league on Fantrax again. And I'm like, I love Fantrax. So to each their own, I guess.
yeah.
They both have their problems though. Like I loved Yahoo before they came out with this new update, and now I fucking hate it. Like with Fantrax too, like I've never used it before, so I'm still getting used to that kind of that interface, but I struggle with finding things there too. So I don't know, like I'm just fighting for my life over here.
I think it loads really slow too, because there's too
Oh my
much
god,
shit
it's so
happening.
glitchy. Yeah, I was
Um,
trying to set my lineup in one of my leagues and it logged me out like 5 times.
yeah,
Are you using the app or using like a web browser?
I used
both.
the app.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like the app is probably more finicky than the browser.
Nice, you got little
But
kitty drive-bys
I know.
happening.
I have my
I've
other
got
cats
mine.
up because they would just be like trying to knock things over. So hopefully she'll be on her best behavior.
Kitties are
That's awesome.
welcome to do whatever the hell they want on this podcast. Um, so what is your fantasy origin story, Emma? How did you get hooked into this mess?
Well, I have been like a basketball fan my whole life. My family was really into sports always. So, growing up, would watch the NBA some and like college basketball and stuff like that. And then my brother I briefly played basketball, but I'm just not really much of an athlete. So that didn't last once you were in high school and you actually had to be good. But my brother played basketball through then. So I feel like all the way through varsity and things like that. So I feel like basketball was always part of my life. Generally as something I enjoyed. And then during the pandemic, my partner, he joined this 30-team fantasy league, and that was his first fantasy league as well. And it was meant to kind of model the CBA and be like, had the same rules as like the real NBA, and kind of a unique scoring system with weighted categories to, again, it's harder to model the NBA with the scoring, but like I think there's like 9 categories, and but the trade rules and salary cap and all that stuff. So that was the first. So he joined that, and I was kind of following it through him, and I was like, oh, this is really fun. So, and it was 2020, so there was really not much going on. So yeah, I was like, okay, this is cool. And I don't really have many friends who are basketball people. My friends who are into sports are like all into football, which I'm not really into. So I was like, well, I don't really have anyone to play fantasy basketball with outside of the league my partner's in, because it's complex. A lot of the teams have co-managers. So I joined him as a co-manager after the first year. But then I was like, trolling the internet, trying to figure out how to join or like get more involved in fantasy basketball, and that's how I found out about Fantasy Basketball International. So I joined their Discord, and from there, just got involved in different leagues through there. Like Yuri and I were talking about before we started recording, I started watching Josh Lloyd's podcast, and he posted some leagues that he was doing, and I actually was, when looking back, was in the league with Yuri from, I think, probably 2021, maybe.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 2021. So I just
11 category, draft
yeah.
only, super deep. The draft took fucking forever.
It was like was it a live draft? Do you remember?
I think he potted about it.
Okay, yeah, I think it was a live draft, so that did take forever. Because most of the drafts I'm in now, because they're through FBI or like people
Oh yeah, it
associated
wasn't
with
a slow
FBI,
draft.
they're all slow drafts. So that's
Mhm.
another easy way not to get like too bogged down, where you're like, with being in this many leagues that I'm in, I don't have to like schedule them all, find 2 hours for each league during draft season, because they kind of just run through. So yeah, and then I've just had a lot of fun, and just I liked basketball before fantasy basketball, but it just kind of incentivizes me to put more of my energy into like paying attention to watching games and things like that when I have, especially as a Hawks fan, these past few seasons have been like up and down, where sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to watch the Hawks, but then when I can root on Rudy Gobert and his journey from Utah to Minnesota as like my centerpiece of my initial fantasy team, it's just, yeah, I feel like it's a fun way to like follow the sport.
Nice. So where were you picking in our draft?
That is, I think it was 8.
Oh, you're 8. You're kind of in the middle. So who did you get?
I got Giannis, which I didn't expect. So I
Good pick.
was intending like, oh, I'm gonna have Trey as like my best player, and then Trey got picked at 7, and I was like, oh, I really didn't expect that. So, and Giannis was still available, so I was like, okay, I'll go with Giannis. So I punted free throws. That's the second punt free throw team I have this season, and there's really no other way with Giannis, especially since I think he's shooting like 40% from the line or something so far this season.
It's rough. It's rough.
There's like no other way to do it, but I don't know. I feel like I struggle with the punt free throw build. Like a lot of my players, I feel like are kind of fragile. As I said, I had 5 players in my injury slots right now, so I feel like I sometimes run thin on some of the other categories, just punting the free throws. And then with the injuries, it's like makes those holes a little bigger. But
How did you do last week? What was your
oh my god, Bethany and I
matchup?
had like the most epic matchup
Oh
of
yeah,
all
it was
time.
4-4.
It was like, yeah, we were like tied constantly going back and forth from like 6-3 to 3-6 to 4-5, and Norm Powell scored what I would say is a 3. They marked it as a 3, and then they reviewed it as a 2, and that 3 was what I needed to win 3s. Otherwise, we tied 3s. So because they took away Norm's first, she was like, "Oh my god, Norm got the 3! Like you like, you're gonna win," and then they took it away, and I was like, all right. But a tie is all right. So
Tie
not a
solid.
bad start.
Kayla, you didn't
Better
do
than
so
a
well on
loss.
you didn't do so well last
Oh
week.
my god, I got clapped. I think I lost like 8-1.
Something like
Like, a
that.
lot of my players got off to a slow start. Like, even with Wemby, it was just not a good week. Jalen Williams, too. It's hard to remember who I have on that team because when you're in, like, so many leagues, you get them all mixed up. But, yeah, not a good week for me. I'm looking to bounce back.
Yeah, I lost 3-5.
Not too
We
bad.
ended up tying in tournament, but yeah, Tyrese Halliburton was just
Oh
like
yeah.
Oh,
horrible last week, so that did not help my cause. But
yeah, he was horrible.
Chet was
Oh, yeah.
monstrous, so
Yeah.
Chet's looking good.
Chet's looking
My
great,
second
man.
best player is LaMelo, so I'm like scared of the injury risk, but he's been so good to start. To get him at what's the second pick at 8? Like 16, 15,
Yeah.
something like that. I
Yeah,
feel like
15, yeah.
if he can stay healthy, it's just like I feel like there's no way he's not a first rounder.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very high risk, high reward. But, I mean, so far he's been balling out, so you've been good.
Yeah.
So, Emma, what's your favorite league format to play?
That's a good question. I feel like I do like just the classic head-to-head 12-team 9 categories. But I really like doing the auctions. So that's not necessarily a league format per se, I guess, but I'm in 3 auctions this year, and 2 of them one's just like, 12 teams, head-to-head 9 cat, and then one's 16 teams, and then the other one is a roto auction. So I really like having some variety, but I feel like the classic head-to-head 9 cat is just
It's hard to
classic for a
beat.
reason.
It's hard to beat
Yeah.
that
It's more
format.
exciting too, right?
It
Like
is,
playing
yeah.
against someone every week. Like with Roto, I'm doing my first Roto leagues this year, and you're not really playing against anyone, right? It's just totals and things like that. So it's okay, but it's not as exciting as like head to head and playing someone new every week.
Yeah.
I haven't done an auction draft yet, but that's on my
Same.
to-do list because I love spending money. And so I'd be very interested to know like how I spend my money when it comes to drafting players, because I imagine it will be a total fail, my first one, and then I'll just have to learn how to like ration out the money and all that stuff. But I agree, Emma. Fab is the way to go for free agents and waivers, because first come first serve is fucking rough and it's nerve-wracking, and Fab is just way more like strategic and kind of fair, kind of gives everyone a shot at getting their players.
Yeah, in my 16-team league this past week, someone dropped Alex Sarr, which just felt crazy to me because he's been playing well, like even with the really awful percentages, like he's still ranked pretty highly. And in a 16-team league, I think we have like 240 something players on the roster. So he's like honestly in like the top 50. So I spent way too much of my fab budget because I was like, I think Alex Sarr he's like a must roster in 12 teams. So in 16 teams, he's like,
yeah,
like I just think it's only up from here with like more minutes, his shooting being a little better. I know it's not going to be like great, but I think it'll be better than like 30% or something. So that's the only thing with the fab is I feel like sometimes there is strategy to it, but I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, I feel like I'm way underbidding. Sometimes I feel like I'm way overbidding, but
it's hard to know.
Stands out.
Oh, and for people that don't know, because my husband was just like, when you spit out a term, you got to explain what it is, like third round reversal. Like he didn't know what that was. So FAB is free agent acquisition budget, I think. And so this is the budget you are allocated for the whole season to spend and to make bids on acquiring free agents. And so that could be $0 or it could be like $1,000. Like $1,000 is typically what the budget is for the whole season. And so if you really want that player, you kind of have to guess like what kind of number you want to throw out there. I've already lost like maybe 4 players because I underbid. But Emma, did you get Alex R? And if so,
I
how much did
did.
you
So
spend?
someone had dropped pods earlier in the week, which again just feels like a mistake to me in a 16-team league. Like I know he didn't have like the first game, his role was like lower than I feel like most people anticipated going into the season. So I understand you being like, I don't know. But again, in the 16-team league, there's just so many players on your roster that just to drop him seemed like a mistake for sure. So I bid $25 on pods out of $100, so a quarter of my budget. And somebody spent
Wow,
72.
you're only given $100.
I know. So I mean, you can do $0 bids, which is what I'm essentially going to do for like every bid going forward because of how much I spent on Alex R. But someone bid 72 on pods, and I was like, okay, that's
Oh my god,
a lot of the money. So that to me, honestly, was probably just like one person being really extreme. But to me, I was like, well, what if everyone bid like a ton of money? I don't know. I only know the high bid. So I bid 61 of my $100 on Alex R, which is a lot. And I'm sure I don't know how much I outbid the other people, but I just feel like if he's a top 50% of the rosterable players, I feel like there's not going to be a better player available throughout the season than Alex R in a 16-team league. So I feel like my biggest concern with how much money I spent is like during the playoffs. I feel like I like to outbid my like the best streamable player. So I feel like I'll be at a disadvantage at that time, but I'm just hoping that my getting like an extra, this was an auction league. So I feel like I already have in the auctions, I don't like to go the stars and scrubs. I like to try to be pretty balanced. And especially in the 16-team league, the scrubs can be very, very scrubby. So I feel like a lot of people have some pretty bad players on their team. So I feel like getting one more player that has like top 100 potential is going to be worth losing out on maybe some streams against my opponent in the playoffs. So
yeah.
Especially in a 16-team league, like there's not going to be that many better players appearing on the waiver wire, right? So I think you kind of got to take that chance with SAR.
Yeah, I just don't think granted there were pods and SAR, which feels crazy to me, but I just can't imagine there's going to be that many better players dropped unless someone else has a bunch of injuries and they just need to drop a player that maybe I could afford to stash or something. But yeah, and this league ends relatively early. I think the finals is like the week of March 3rd. So I feel like there's not even going to be too many non-NBA players that all of a sudden are like producing top 50 fantasy numbers because the season ends in this league early enough. So we'll see if it pans out.
Very interesting. Kayla, how are you doing with your fab budget?
I'm doing okay. I've actually never played with a budget before, so it's something that's new for me. But yeah, in one of my leagues, the budget is 1,000, so that's good. A lot of leeway there. And in the other one, it's 250. So I only have 2 leagues like that. So far I haven't made any pickups. I probably should because I have some injuries, but managing and trying to figure things out.
Yeah, and the 2 leagues that I'm in 3 leagues with you. You haven't made a lot of moves.
Not yet. No. I haven't really needed to just yet. In one of them, I haven't really had injuries. The Roto one. I haven't really had anything.
Yeah.
Unless that's the one with Curry. I can't even remember. But I think I did do one move. I can't remember who I picked up. But I bid $10. And I got him. I just can't remember who it was. But for $10, like, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're in so many leagues, though. Can't remember what you do.
I
I know.
cannot for the life of me remember who's on my team at any given time.
Yeah, honestly,
It's
I need to
fucking
check.
crazy.
I don't know. Nuts.
So, Emma, is there anything about playing fantasy that you find really frustrating or you wish was better? How's been your experience in the trenches with mostly male dominated communities? Like, so you've been following Josh for a while.
Since I started playing fantasy basketball, I just like to. I feel like when I get involved in things, I kind of just do it 110%.
Yeah,
So when I was
same.
in fantasy, I'm like, well, I can't just have a shitty team. I need to like do the research to like, obviously I use my own brain too, but I like to get other people's opinions and uh I've listened to like plenty of just regular NBA podcasts and then, yeah, so yes, to answer your question about
So who are your favorite analysts?
um I I would say I listen to Josh the most. Partially because I feel like when you're first getting involved, it's like, well, he's kind of the biggest name, so it was easy to be like, oh, this is what I should watch. But I listen to like the Dan Besbris. I
Mhm.
listen to Adam King some, and then I'm into some dynasty leagues, so I follow Matt Lawson through FBI, his like dynasty rankings and all that jazz. And that
And what
is
what
kind of
kinda what NBA pods do you enjoy?
um well, I like draft stuff. So that's another kind of basketball hobby is I like to do like little scouting through the season of the collegiate international players and make my own big board and things like that. So I like listening to the game theory with Sam Vecini. Uh and then I also like the CBA side of stuff, so I listen to Dunked On. um you know it's they have like the daily podcast, so it's a good way to like follow the news that way. Let's see, I would say those are the two main podcasts that I listen to most of the time, and then I'm a Hawks fan, so I listen to Locked On Hawks with Brad Rowland. Um and let's see, with the scouting stuff, I guess I also like to listen to what is it called? It's another Locked On, but it's like the draft one. I can't think of what it's called right now.
Mm.
But probably Locked On Big Board. That's it.
Hmm.
So that's not as much about the current NBA players, but those are the main basketball pods
Yeah.
I listen to.
Yeah. What about
I
you,
have an
Kayla?
important question for you, actually. First, who is your favorite Hawks player right now?
That's a good question. I like a lot of the Hawks players, honestly, right now. So I didn't grow up a Hawks fan. My family were Knicks fans growing up, and I kind of fell out of basketball in college because I moved down to Georgia for college, and it was like all college football. So I kind of didn't really have anyone to watch basketball with, so it kind of fell off. And then after college, moving to Atlanta, and then my partner was a big Hawks fan, so I kind of became a Hawks fan when they drafted Trey. um, I started following them like that his rookie year. So I do, I like Trey. So I wouldn't say that's my favorite Hawks player necessarily. I really like Jalen Johnson. I don't feel like I don't know Dyson as well since he's new, but I think he's a really cool player for sure. And I was really excited to get the number one overall pick. So um, I wouldn't have drafted Ricochet myself if I were like the Hawks GM with the knowledge I have. Obviously, they have a lot more information than I do. Um, but I'm 100% rooting for him because it's just really exciting to have the number 1 overall pick. So I would say I couldn't pick a favorite, but honestly, maybe I would just pick Trey because he's a really, really amazing player, and I feel like gets a lot of bad rap for having like some sort of attitude problem that I feel like is kind of made up, and just kind of is, despite being so good, I feel like he's an underdog. So I think the Hawks have also had a lot of transition over the past few years with different players coming in and out. But Trey's been there, been rooting for him the whole time. So
I love that. And I love Trey too. He's a huge riser for me this year. Great value.
Yeah, he's been off to a really strong start. So
yeah, going back to your question, Yuri. I gotta say that Bitches Be Ballin' podcast is pretty good. I listen to that pretty often.
Of course.
Just whenever.
They're limited to episodes, but I've listened to both episodes. So
awesome.
Thanks, Emma.
Between Two Hoops is another really good one. That guy DMAC, NBA Fantasy Bible, he seems to know what he's talking about. So
yeah, and that
good.
woman that
she's all right. I mean, sometimes she's
pretty good. I think she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's pretty hot too. I don't know.
Totally hot. I know. I think she gets hit on a lot on Twitter.
Oh, she must.
Oh God. Do you?
I've had a couple. Not very many though. I had someone DM me and say that they like my smile, which is
it? I think you were on. Oh, we were on Josh's podcast last season when he had you on as a guest.
Oh yeah, there was some comments there.
I'm in the live chat a lot on his premieres, and I shouldn't be because I end up like scrapping with people in there. But there were some dudes saying like she's hot.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Well, I love the hype up. I love that. I'm good.
I mean, you can go back and look at it.
I gotta actually check that out because I tried not to read it because I don't want to see like the bad things. And I know I did see some in the past, and I don't need to see that. And I know like I have a lot of support, so I don't need to keep reading things to reaffirm that. So that's why I don't look at it, but I might have to now just to see the
there was nothing disparaging that I can remember. It was mostly like she's hot.
I'll take it because I remember I did see one comment once, and it was like, "Why is there a woman on this show?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, because women can't play fantasy basketball, I guess. Sorry."
Dick move of the week.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. To see that, I was like, "Yeah, just can't waste my time with reading like negative comments like that." Which sucks because you always want to see the good ones, right? But
there's always going to be shitty comments, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of hinted at this earlier, Yuri. I feel like being a woman playing fantasy basketball, especially in these like public-ish leagues where I don't really know people, I feel like most of the time people just don't realize that I'm a woman. It's not like, a video podcast where they're seeing your face. So I feel like most of the time people are just like, "What's up, bro?" And I'm just like, "Oh, they're being nice." I'm not necessarily a bro, but I can be a bro. So most of the time I feel like people just don't even realize, even if it has like my name, it just doesn't connect with them that like Emma is an Emma. I don't know.
I've noticed that too. The amount of people who will comment on my Twitter post and be like, "Hey bro, who should I pick up tonight?" Or like, "Hey dude, what's up? Should I do this?" And I'm like, "But my name is Kayla. Like it says it right there." And like you've seen me.
And there's a picture of you.
I changed my profile picture to me so people know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like some people will just say like dude, like regardless of like gender or whatever. Like I'm someone who will say that sometimes too. But like I just find it so funny because I think people genuinely think that I'm a guy. So I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I mean, here's your advice, just whatever.
Yeah, I had someone in a like slow draft I was in earlier this year. I guess most of the way through the draft, they like realized that I was a woman. I don't know. And they were like, "Oh my God, like, are you a woman?" And I was like, "Yep." And then they were like,
"A woman? What is that?"
And they were like, "Caitlin or Angel?" And I was like, "I'm just not gonna respond." First of all,
what?
I do like the WNBA, so I guess I would know more than the average person about Caitlin and Angel. But at the same time, it's just so funny. One, I'm not here to pit women against each other, but it just was funny to me that I was like, are you a woman? And then it's like, let me ask you about women, even though this is an NBA league.
Awkward.
Oh, but that is the one thing. I am in a WNBA Dynasty fantasy.
Oh,
league.
dude, that's so
Awesome.
great.
Yeah,
So-
so I joined that not this past season, but the season before. So
How long has that been going on for?
just the 2 years. So it was something Matt Lawson pulled together. And there's, I guess, the other people in the league are mainly either like fantasy analysts or more just like WNBA reporter podcasty type people. And I subscribed to Matt's Patreon for the Dynasty stuff, and he had posted like, hey, I'm starting a W Dynasty League. Does anyone want to join? I was like, oh, that'd be cool. Because again, I feel like I have trouble always keeping up with watching sports year round. So I feel like being in a league helps me like lock into watching more games that I wouldn't normally watch. So I was like, this would be a good opportunity to like learn more about the W by having to like learn about players outside of the stars to draft them to a team. So it's been fun.
Let us know if you need more people, because that is definitely on my list
Me too.
to be in WNBA fantasy leagues.
Yeah, I will let you know. I know this past year they had some people leave and they brought in some new managers. So if that happens again, I will definitely let y'all know. I don't know if we would do some sort of, maybe, I don't know, maybe we'd even do some sort of expansion once we get all these new teams in the W, if they would grow the league or not. But if not, we should try to just create another one. Like, we can see if any of the ladies from this league want to
Hell
do a
yeah.
league
I was
next
just
year.
about to say we could
Hell
branch out and do our own
yes.
BBB one. Like that'd be
Totally.
great.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Unfortunately,
awesome.
they're only on ESPN, which that's the only time I've done an ESPN league. So, and they're only points leagues, which is, so I guess I have done a points league before. It's this one, which is fine. I'm hoping that some of the other platforms will start picking it up just as the W becomes so much more popular.
Yeah.
I think it will eventually. It's got to happen soon. But like, how do you find ESPN?
It's fine. Again, this is the only league I've ever done on it. So it's, I'm trying to think, like, I know some of the, at least in the NBA, some of like the platforms kind of lag when there's like random players who join. They like take too long to add them. I'm trying to remember. I guess for a second there, what player I wanted to add onto my team who had been like, didn't like immediately appear in the ESPN platform when I was like, okay, let me add this lady to my team, and then it's like, oh, she's not here. But it was remedied pretty quickly, so that wasn't too big of a problem. But you know, it's fine.
Yeah, ESPN is the one I've never tried, but I've heard like mixed reviews, so that's why I've been a little bit hesitant. But again, it's more like points oriented.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily like, I feel like, again, the biggest thing I've heard about, I haven't used it for NBA fantasy, is just either they're like really wonky rankings, which I guess isn't a big deal if you know your own information about the players and aren't like relying on their rankings. And then also just, you know, when guys come into the league mid-season and they just take too long to add them to the, like, you know, especially towards the end of the season when some guy comes in on like a tanking team and you're like, oh, they're producing like top 70 and I can't add them to my team because they're not in the database. But you know, for the W, it's been fine. No complaints.
It's pretty good.
So in our own draft, Emma, were there any surprises that struck you? How did you enjoy our draft experience where it was all women and we had the Discord and all that stuff?
I did. It was fun. I had the Discord playing, but I had myself muted because I feel like I like will mutter to myself and like talked myself through my draft strategy. So I was like, I'm gonna keep myself on mute. But it was fun hearing everyone else. Like, I've already dropped Ben Simmons, not because he was bad, but just because I had a bit of a roster crunch with adding other people. But hearing people comment on the players you're drafting is kind of fun. And yeah, I would say there were like a few surprises in our draft. I was surprised Embiid fell all the way to 23. I just feel like I mainly saw him going in my other draft still like at the latest the beginning of the second round. But granted, I passed on him too, so I can't say I'm not that surprised, I guess, if I wasn't willing to do it myself. And there were some guys I feel like who I was a little surprised about where they were drafted. I can't remember now, and again, I was surprised that I got Giannis at 8. I feel like I usually see him going at like 5 or 6 or something. So
Yeah.
Or 6 or 7 something. So that was a pleasant surprise. But yeah, it's been really fun so far.
Yeah, we've got a great season ahead. We're so excited for it.
Yeah.
And it's very competitive, which I love.
It's
hard to
very
find
competitive.
that.
It's very competitive. Yeah. So an update is we had somebody that couldn't make our draft. And so she was auto drafting. And then I noticed that she wasn't really even setting her lineup. So I'm like, what is going on? Ends up that she just doesn't have any time to manage her team. So we found someone new. She's a total newbie. And so I went in as commissioner and just made some moves on her behalf just to get her team like up to speed because she had a whole bunch of injured guys like Kawhi and
Yeah, I had messaged you because messaged the group because she didn't realize how the IL and IL plus worked. So she dropped like all these really good players like Hartenstein that are, injured, but we have the
IL spots for them. Yeah.
to add that to keep them. And I was like, I think this is not like she must not realize that she can keep these guys because that's who I'm playing this week. And my team's very broken, and I guess her team's broken too, but she's crushing me so far. My players were bad yesterday, and she had like some crazy performances like Peyton Pritchard and
which I added for her.
Yeah.
And Grady.
Yeah,
so
Gary.
When I looked at her team, I'm like trying to figure out, okay, so these are the she's pretty strong in these categories. So I just went in and added players that kind of fit that build. And then I ran it on Basketball Monster, the analysis monster, and now she's like fucking near the top of the standings. And I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, other ladies.
This year.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, we'll see. She has some pretty, Hartenstein you expect to come back when he comes back and be good as new, but Kawhi, who knows?
Who knows?
A lot of question marks there, that's for sure. And Yuri, you have him in a couple of leagues, right?
Kawhi, I have him in one.
One, okay.
I have him in the Roto Industry Pickup League that we're both in.
Oh, gotcha.
Well, Roto,
that's Roto's a little bit,
depends
a
on where
little
you
bit better
him,
than
but
head-to-head.
at least you can just play him when he's available.
Mm-hmm. And he fell to you, I think, in the 50s, right?
40.
I think those are both there.
7.
Yeah. Okay, so near. Not horrible.
Not horrible. And it was before they had announced that he was out indefinitely.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a good move, but that industry pickup league, the Roto, is really interesting. The leaderboard is fluctuating all the time. I think it's really tight.
It is. I've been going from like 4th to like 7th, up and down every day. But I'll take it. It's not too bad of a start. Where are you at?
At one point I was like 2nd, but that it was only for like a couple days, and I think now I'm like near 9th or something. But it's fine. I mean, I feel
it's
like
still early. It's going up and down every day.
Early. So. I did notice like some of our league mates spent some pretty serious money on some of the pickups.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Wait, who picked up who? I don't even know. I'm gonna check my team right now.
Find him here.
Who did I pick up? Oh, so this is the league that I have Curry in.
Oh, it is.
I picked up. Who did I pick up?
I feel like Curry's so good for Roto League. I always try to get guys
Mhm.
on my Roto teams that have relatively strong field goal percentage to like 3 ratio, because I feel like that's what hurts you is when you're trying to get the threes, and then those guys are often like very inefficient. So like Curry and then like Kyrie, I feel like they're usually the guys I try to get on my Roto team to get the threes
Mhm.
plus field goal. So hopefully, I think I have Curry on my Roto team as well.
Mike Barner, he spent $110 on Jordan Hawkins.
I like Hawkins, but only while Murray is out.
Yeah.
I feel like
Reclean
he's
spent $29 on DeAndre Hunter.
oof. And to me, like
Hunter's
DeAndre
still
Hunter
up
just
and
isn't
down.
good enough to play in a Roto League. I feel like, he's a good stream for head to head for me, like if there's a bunch of injuries. But for
Mhm.
Roto, I just feel like he's never good enough.
I feel that. And I was wrong. I didn't make any moves in this league yet. It was a different one.
Mm.
Maybe I'll make my first one today. There's someone I see on the wire that I kind of want.
In
Want to
our
replace
league?
Curry. Yeah. I would say, but I'm spilling all my secrets.
Mhm. I know. I've actually, and this is me just like not knowing how much to spend. Like I spent $31 to get Mike Conley, because he'd been dropped, and then I spent $33 on
This is out of
Champagne.
1,000.
This is out of
This
1,000,
is
yeah.
1,000. Yeah. That's not bad. Like for Conley, I don't really see him as like a must drop right now. Like
I
I
think
I would
he's
hold on to him, right?
solid.
Like
Like so many
yeah,
people are like,
I
should I drop him? I'm just like, he's
I
Mike
mean,
Conley.
especially in Roto, if you just feel like you need to juice your assists, even if you like don't play him every game, but feel like you're kind of
mhm.
lagging in assists and you want to get your assist totals up for the season. I don't know. I try to like not play too many players at the beginning of the season for my Roto teams and kind of see how I'm shaping up, and then we'll like, if I am lagging assists, would play someone like Conley or Chris Paul, and then if I'm lagging in like blocks, play like Derek Lively
Misi.
or something. Yeah.
um, yeah, I just which Reclean paid $42 for Misi.
I just submitted my claim, so fingers crossed.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, what else? What else we want to talk about? Oh, Emma, I believe we asked you to pick
Ooh,
badass bitch of the week.
you did. Okay. Is it time for my reveal?
It is.
Reveal it.
Drum
So
roll.
I had trouble picking because I feel like I had a lot of ideas and they're like slightly not from this week, but I went with one anyways. I picked the WNBPA, so the women's, like the WNBA Player Association, because they opted out of their CBA and they're 2 years early so that they can try to get what they're owed, and they're gonna they just got this new media rights, and the league's more popular than ever, and it's just unbelievable how you expect the women's players to be getting paid less than the men because the league's making so much less money. But even though like the percentage of what the women are making of like the pot that the league has is like such a smaller percentage. So
Caitlin Clark makes like 75 grand or something.
I know, it was like you could be
Oh my
just
god,
some
it's
like
Fucking
crazy.
criminal.
you could just be some like 23-year-old business school like bachelor's degree graduate and be making more than that.
It's so fucked up.
So yeah,
Well, good for them.
so
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited to see, and it's just crazy that they're like still taking like commercial flights, and just I
Mhm.
was also reading about when I was researching what badass I wanted to pick about the women's soccer professional teams in the US, how they receive only $10,000 a year in childcare stipends total in addition to their salary. And I don't have a child, so I don't exactly know how much they cost, but I know childcare is more than $10,000 a year for one child. And, I imagine the W has similarly constrained additional supports for mothers who are athletes and things like that. So I know improving those type of things and getting better facilities and different things is part of what the W wants outside of just the salaries, because it's, they're becoming huge, and the players are you could have a college basketball team that has better facilities and amenities and things like that. So I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of excitement for the league. Looking forward to that Toronto team for sure.
Yeah, that's super fun.
Bay Area team.
Yeah, both of you are getting teams.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big expansion, which is great.
Anything else on your minds?
Any final tips or thoughts or anything?
No, I'm excited for the season. I feel pretty good about most of my teams. So I'm hoping everybody can stay healthy.
Yep. So are you in both the Locked On? You're in the Locked On head-to-head tournament?
And the Roto, yeah.
And the Roto, me too. What division are you in?
I think I'm in olive.
Oh, so you're in the green for for Roto?
Green for Roto, and then I'm in red for head-to-head.
Okay, I'm in blue. No, brown head-to-head. But we're both in green for Roto. I think there's only maybe only one
might
big
only
one.
be just the green.
Yeah, so you're in olive. Okay, I'm going to peep you. What's the name of your team?
That's the thing, is I still have to work on my team names. That's the thing that's fallen aside. I like to think of fun team names, but right now I just have my team names everywhere except this league as Emma.
So this league, you're a new team number.
No, I'm Emma.
Oh, you are your Emma. So
I
I'm in.
Gave myself Emma, but
I'm in Forest.
I've been working on different workshopping team names, name ideas, but I just need to go through and apply them to my teams.
It's hard to find the right one. I could spend hours just for one team.
See, that's so weird. I never thought to ever, and I've been playing fantasy basketball since 2011. I've never thought to just have a different team name every season. So my team name is always the same, and it's some variation of Nub, like NUB or Nubbins or Tiny Nubs. And you're not asking, but I'm going to tell you. The origin story of that name is because my favorite band is the Jesus Lizard, and they have a song called Nub, and it's a fucking rager of a song. And that song really gets me going. So that's why my team name is Nub.
I'd love that for you.
So there you go.
Honestly, that's better way, because I spend so much time being trying to think of fun team names, which is fun, but also
it's a lot of work too.
I can spend my time better.
And you just renamed your team for our league. Can you please tell us what that name is?
Oh, so I picked, yeah. So you inviting me to be on the pod today. I was like, well, I can't go on it and be Emma's excellent team or whatever I was. So that's just not acceptable. So I did some workshopping yesterday, and I did 365 Landry Girl, because I was trying to think of a fun ladies themed reference, and I was like, okay, everybody loved Brat Summer and Charlie XCX, so, and then my ode to the Hawks, and so I did a little Landry Fields reference as the GM, and mixed Charlie and Landry, and that's what I came up with. So
we love it.
It's great.
I love all of the team names in our league. They're just amazing. Even the pictures too are just top tier, fantastic.
Yeah, I always got to get a picture, so I spend time. One year I even I started like I broke out the Photoshop and started like combining the player name with like the reference, and I take it too far because I'm probably
Love it.
procrastinating on something more important that I should be doing. So
Hey, naming your fantasy team and making the picture is like high up on the list of priorities. 100%.
exactly.
And people that just use the little jersey image as a default, that's just
Ugh.
laziness.
I don't want to see that.
Laziness. Yeah, come on, guys. Well, Emma, thanks so much for joining us
Yeah.
this week. It was
Thank
so cool to meet you and to talk about like your origin story and how you go about things. Josh was telling me like, I was like, who are the other women that play fantasy out there? He was like, I know this woman named Emma. And so that's how I discovered you.
That's me, yeah. Every year I try to get into one of the like Josh Lloyd mocks that he does as a fun practice for the season. And I feel like, yeah, because I am a woman, I feel like you just kind of you just become more memorable because you're like, oh, there's not that many of you running around.
Definitely.
True.
Yep.
There aren't that many of us. It's really hard to get into one of those mocks too, man. I don't know how.
It fills up in
I'll
seconds.
just I'll set the like Twitter notifications on, so I'll get like pinged when the mock happens, and then I'll turn them off after I do my like one mock.
But still, I have that too, and I always miss it. It's the fucking, I don't know. It's crazy.
It's tough.
All right. Well, Kayla, let's not get caught.
Let's keep going.